Hello everyone, this is part 2 of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Back at Konoha, the unlikely, comedic duo, better known as Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamaki, rushed through the quiet streets. I think she ran this way, Choji said, while actually managing to keep up with Shikamaru without tiring out. What do ya think got her so wound up? Shikamaru, the lazy cloud lover, simply turned to Choji with his ever-famous lazy eye and sighed, "The hell if I know, Choji. But why are we trying to follow her around anyway? She's probably just gonna yell at us for stalking her, or what the hell ever," he said. Choji sighed as well. "Yeah, probably, but what if she gets herself in trouble or something? What kind of teammates could we call ourselves if we sat by and did nothing about it, if we could help it?" he asked. Shikamaru groaned in lazy frustration. "Okay, fine. Geez," he sighed. Before the trail could even grow cold, Choji and Shikamaru followed it to the Haruno household. Stopping in front of the house, the two genin looked at it with piqué curiosity. "So what would Ino-chan wanna go to Sakura-san's place for?" Choji asked, scratching his head. "Again with your questions for which I have no answers." "Why?" Shikamaru gsaid quietly, and not at all exertingly, seen as how he was still the same lazy bum, who couldn't even do that in a state of anger. Before Choji could even respond, he could have sworn that he heard a vengeful scream, followed by a loud crash coming from the Haruno's place. Both genin looked long and hard at the house and listened for more noises, as not to barge in without fully knowing what was going on. As they listened deeper and longer, they were certain that they heard the voices of Ino and Sakura followed by other various crashes. "Come on, Sakura. Admit it. You totally wanted it and you can't have it now, because you're a complete B," Ino's voice hollered out. "F you, Ino. F you," came the enraged voice of Sakura. Many loud and obnoxious crashes could be heard coming from the house, and this really started to worry Choji. Shikamaru, not so much. "Man, it sounds like they're getting physical in there," Choji said with his voice full of concern. Shikamaru turned a dismissive eye away from the source of the noise. "Oh come on, already, let's just go. We've wasted enough time around here, and getting ourselves involved with girl talk would be an even further waste of time. Let's go," he said. "But, no, I don't want to hear it. There's nothing more irritating than getting in the middle of a cat fight. Believe me, I know," Shikamaru cut in. Choji lowered his head and sighed. "Besides, unless Ino and Sakura were, like, totally macking out on the living room floor for us to see, then I really don't see." Shikamaru ceased his talking and suddenly plastered a disarmed look. Choji looked at his friend with silent determination and a glimmering eye. Without a single word between them, both genin dashed at frightening speeds to get to a window. However, before they could get their hopes up any further, they were greeted with the sight of Sakura slamming Ino's head into a television set. Sakura stood back from Ino, who rose to her feet and brushed off the discarded glass. "If he didn't kiss me, I wouldn't have had to act up like that. Things were just fine until he did it," Sakura hollered with anger. Ino charged at Sakura, who prepared for her attack, but was caught by surprise when the blonde abruptly slipped her foot against her friend's, prying her legs apart. After losing her balance, Sakura wasn't able to counter the oncoming snap kick to her delicate face, sending her spinning face first into a wall, slightly bouncing back due to the recoil. Not giving Sakura a second to recover, Ino forcefully slammed her head against the wall, and used her free hand to lock the pink-haired kunoichi into a chicken wing. Sakura let out a raspy and shrilled yell of rage and pain. "Liar," Ino screamed, "you lying bee. You loved what Naruto did to you. You enjoyed it. I saw you with my own two eyes." In a moment of impulsive reflex, Sakura effortlessly released herself of the chicken wing, turning herself around, and using the recoil she gained from the spin to deliver a staggering knee to Ino's abdomen. With the force of the blow, Ino was lifted off of her feet, choking and gasping for air. Sakura acted immediately, by clasping both hands onto the blonde's jawline, before spinning around and slamming her into the wall in the same spot and position, minus the chicken wing. Before Ino could push herself off, Sakura viciously locked her foot into the blonde's lower back, causing her to writhe in agony, sliding down to her knees. Without remorse, Sakura knelt down to Ino's level, while forcing her face against the wall. What the hell do you know, Ino pig? You're only saying those things, because you're after Sasuke-kun. That's it, isn't it? She yelled in her longtime friend's ear. Ino squinted her eyes, before quickly moving her head to the side, causing Sakura's hand to slam a hole into the wall. Wasting no time in the slightest, Ino jerked her head back, slamming it right into Sakura's face, forcing her back into a standing position. Ino, then, rolled back with her legs curled, and delivered a kick to the pink-haired female's midsection with enough power to send her stumbling back in a slight daze. The blonde kunoichi followed up her assault, by using her rolling maneuver as leverage to rise to her feet, before spinning around and catching Sakura's face with a spin kick, sending the jade-eyed pink spinning in the air, before crashing to the ground. Because of that display of mind-bending SK, Sakura was now royally distraught, as she tried numerous times to pick herself, but only fell back down in some ridiculous way. Ino solidified her fighting stance and glared at Sakura. You have no idea what you've done to him, do you, Sakura? It's like he's gone, now, Ino GSED. At hearing Ino's infuriating words, Sakura shot to her feet and was surprisingly in tears. God damn it, Ino. Did you come here to F with me? I told you, I don't give a damn. I can't take back what's been done, and that's that, she hollered, before charging at Ino, once again. The turquoise returned her friend's charge, both females yelling with their fists reeled back. Without a single ounce of hesitation, the two girls' fists collided with each other's faces at the exact same moment. With all sorts of disheartened feelings and nostalgic memories rushing through them at that moment, both females remained in that spot for what felt like a small eternity. Suddenly, they simultaneously shot their eyes open, and glared at one another again with their fists remaining lodged within each other's face. With tears still falling from Sakura's face without her consent, Ino frowned even deeper at her. Look at you. You look pathetic, Ino insulted. Sakura inwardly flinched as she caught the width of that insult. Shut up, Ino. Just shut you, she yelled in a blind fury. What's wrong, Sakura? Does it hurt? Does it sting? Do you hate yourself for what you did to him? Well, come on, B. Don't stop on my account. Let me hear how much you regret ever rejecting him, Ino boldly irked. After hearing every bit of truth in Ino's words, Sakura felt her anger shoot through her head, before she viciously began pushing her fist into her face, causing the blonde-haired kunoichi's eyes to forcefully avert away due to the pressure being put on her face. Before Ino knew it, Sakura's fist drove itself past her faces, forcing her end to twist with much force, recoiling her bobbing head to a straight position, before a rock-solid fist connected to the other side of her face, sending her flying away to the side and sliding across the wooden floor. The only thing to cease Ino's sliding was a wooden chair that was stationed at the dining room table. Shattering the chair on impact, Ino laid there, half buried in broken chair pieces, before she opened her eyes and saw Sakura charging at her. Reacting quickly, Ino grabbed a broken chair leg and chucked it at the unsuspecting Sakura. Hitting her face with an almost comical crack of both the chair leg and her face, Sakura stumbled forward while falling and landed head-first onto the table. With her pink-haired friend looming over her, with nothing but her head on the table, keeping her from falling, Ino quickly latched her hands onto the floor, before pulling herself forward, sliding past Sakura's legs. Rising to her feet almost immediately, Ino ran over to the, now, dizzy Sakura, snatched her by her hair and repeatedly started slamming her head against the table itself. Slam. You cold. Slam. Unfeeling. Slam. B. Without realizing how much they had already watched, Choji and Shikamaru stared on at him, until they lazy Genin threw his arms in the air and huffed. That's it, I'm gone, Shikamaru said disconcertingly, as he was inwardly disappointed about not seeing any action. What a troublesome drag. Choji shot his head to his friend who was walking away with his hands in his pocket. Wait. Shikamaru, you're leaving, he said. Do you see any other reason we should stay? Yes. The possibly scenario of rough and crazy makeup S, Choji retorted. This little possibility halted Shikamaru in his tracks for a few seconds, before his hand shot up to his side. "No. I'm gone," he said before strolling off again. Meanwhile, back at the forest area far from the walls of Konoha, Naruto was on the ground using nothing but his arms for arc support, as he panted erratically to catch some much-needed air. Jiraiya looked down at the worn genin and smiled at the boy's progress. Wow. His past altercation with Sakura must have really sparked a flame. The kid's progress is actually a little above average, but still, the aged Sannin thought to himself, Naruto. Naruto ceased his heaving after he had caught enough breath and stared up at his supervisor with an obviously tired out look on his face. "How ya holdin' out?" Jiraiya asked knowingly. "Holdin' out. I'm spend, pervy sage," Naruto said through his fatigue. Jiraiya's smile grew. "Good, now get up. We're not finished," he ordered. Naruto's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he heard what he thought he heard. What? What do ya mean we're not finished? I've been spending nearly an hour pushing myself to the very limit, and then some. What more do you want me to do? He lamented. Jiraiya hardened his look to a glare. "Well, for starters, you can stop your useless complaining. That won't get you anywhere, and second." Naruto tilted his head, "And second." Jiraiya knelt down in front of the blonde boy and pointed at his stomach. "Second, you'll have to learn how to rely on yourself without relying on yourself. For instance, when your life is on the line," he said unwaveringly. Naruto, being the clueless badger that he was, tilted his head the other way. "Myself without What? What? I don't get it, and what do you mean when my life is on the line, huh?" Jiraiya re-established his smile. "When your chakra is at its limit at a time of great crisis, or any event endangering your very life, you'll have to dig deep and find the strength it takes to live on. Got it? There's a power inside of you that I'm sure, not even you are aware of. Through this section of your training, you will learn to awaken that power all on your own. If you're gonna get better and fast, then you're gonna have to stare death in the face and smile with a will that cannot be denied. Allow me to demonstrate," he said before lifting his finger to the center of Naruto's forehead. Naruto had just enough time to look up and see his supervisor's finger, before his head was pushed back with a seemingly harmless tap. ... Well, it would seem harmless, if not for the ridiculous amount of distance that Naruto had flown. Piercing through several bushes and passing several trees, Naruto hovered over that ground, until he was shot out into the open, where there was no ground to speak of. Despite the fact that his senses were still a little bit jarred, Naruto could feel what was underneath him, or rather, what wasn't underneath him. Who God, Naruto managed to choke out before plummeting into the very large crevasse. Jiraiya's smile vanished, replacing it with a very serious expression. Now we'll see if he can finally pull it off. If he truly wants to live, then let's see it finally happen. Let's see him unleash the fox's chakra, at will, he said to himself. Back at the slowly deteriorating Haruno home, a scratched and slightly bruised Ino was carefully stalking around the section of the house that was right next to Sakura's kitchen, leading to the living room. With Sakura nowhere in sight, Ino was on her toes and fully alert, but still blindly pissed. "Do you hear me, Sakura? He's broken, now. You broke him and sealed him away. It's like he doesn't even have the same eyes anymore," Ino yelled with vigor. Before she continued her little rant, she heard quiet footsteps patting from behind her. Ino's pupils shunk, before she turned on a dime, readying herself to fight, only to be greeted with absolutely nothing. The blonde genin squinted her eyes, before she turned back around. Of course, it was at that moment, that Ino's caught the sight of a slightly more bruised Sakura with wooden chair in her GS, reeling it back, ready to slam it across her head. Before Ino could even react, the pink-haired female did just that, shattering the poor chair into pieces. Whirling in a perfect circle, while maintaining her footing, Ino was unable to counter a powerful spin kick, as it contacted directly to the blonde's ribs, sending her flying into the kitchen. "Naruto's a big boy," Sakura coldly declared, before reaching inside of a nearby cabinet and pulling out a frying pan. "He'll get over it, just like all the other times I told him off and denied him." After her doubt-filled words, Sakura chucked the frying pan at Ino, who was struggling to recompose herself, before the pan collided with her forehead, making her body lean back a great deal, and flailing her arms out with one leg expending itself in the air. Without any hesitation, Sakura charged at Ino, ramming her stomach with a solid running punch, driving her into the wall. With Ino now at her mercy, Sakura milked it for all it was worth, landing furious punches kicks all over the blonde's upper body and face. I hurt Naruto all the time, Ino. I don't care what happens after that because all he ever does is come back and try to ask me out, Sakura hissed out while matching most of her words with either a punch or a kick unto Ino's person. Deciding that she'd had enough, Ino spotted the discarded frying pan next to her feet. In a blind, yet incredibly accurate reflex, the turquoise-eyed Genin flipped the pan with her foot up to her and, where she effortlessly caught it. She then let her body slide down the wall, timingly avoiding a finishing punch from Sakura, whose fist drove itself into the wall. Before Ino landed on the floor completely, she kicked her legs forward to knock Sakura's out and off the ground. Caught completely off guard by this move, the jade-eyed Genin fell forward. In the reaction time of only an instant, Ino resourcefully positioned the flat end of the frying in direct line with Sakura's face. And pushed as hard as she could. With a loud, PLINNNNG, Sakura's body folded back almost completely. As she flew out of the kitchen. When she landed flat on her back, Sakura immediately latched both hands onto her, now, bleeding face, as she muffled her ultra-loud scream from behind them. Seeing this, Ino hesitated, as she dropped the pan in front of herself. Watching her long-time friend rolling on the ground back and forth, holding her face, struck a heart-wrenching twinge of fear and slight regret through her. Ino slowly picked herself up to all fours, as she was dreadfully tempted to aid her fallen friend. Until she reminded herself of what she had done and that she needed know what she had done, causing that weakness to vanish. With a will of iron, Ino sprung forward, taking only a few large and quick-paced steps toward the groaning Sakura, before pouncing upon her. With Ino on top of Sakura, in the straddle position, the blonde kunoichi snatched the collar of Sakura's red outfit, causing the pink-haired female's hands to fall from her face, revealing a wide-eyed, pain-filled one. Ino kicked things off with a merciless head bash to Sakura's forehead. Listen to yourself, Sakura. Do you really believe what you're saying? Do you think that Naruto's affections are meaningless? She pursued. Sakura shook herself out of the slight daze that she was in and glared at Ino. I never said that. I mean, I don't care about Naruto-kun's affections. Sasuke's are the only affections I'm looking for. And no stupid blonde boy with a pink addiction is gonna change that, she exclaimed in a little confusion as to what she had just said. Exactly. It was too late to take back what she had said, however, Ino could smell blood in the water and despite the ultra-heated situation, it put a sadistic smile on her face. What was that, Sakura? Did I just hear that right? Ino taunted with the smile never leaving her face. Naruto what? Sakura blushed slightly before frowning deeply at the blonde girl on top of her. Shush, shut up. She yelled, before Ino vengefully bashed her forehead against she friend's larger one again. Without a single moment to think, Ino used her legs to lift herself up, guiding Sakura with her. Still holding the jade-eyed Genin by the collar, Ino spun around once and tossed Sakura across her living room. Falling, falling, falling. It was as though it was endless. A void of nothingness that would inevitably end any life. Staring down at that horrible blackness, the victim would fell prey to this very abyss, became wild-eyed and desperate. He couldn't speak. He could barely even think straight, due to the ever-present knowledge of impending death creeping up his spine. Oh God, I have to stop myself. If I don't, I'm gonna Naruto thought dreamfully to himself. With these desperate thoughts in mind, Naruto noticed several rocks pointing outward from the crevasse wall. Shifting his body's fall to the rocks, Naruto made a grab for one of them and successfully latched on, only to immediately slip off and continued his fatal descent, hitting a few rocks on his way back down. You've got to be kidding. There's too much moisture on these rocks. I can't grab on. Despite the horribly obvious fact that there was no chance in frozen hell Naruto would be able to grab onto the rock without slipping, he persisted with vigor. But the results never changed. Throughout the void of death, the fading and echoing scream of the distressed Genin could be heard. Writhing. He's been falling for nearly a minute now, the feeling of death creeping upon him with more darkening ferocity. With his chakra completely diminished and absolutely nothing to grab onto, Naruto stared back down at the abyss, watching, waiting, dreamfully anticipating when the bottom of Death's Canyon will greet him into the armed death himself. No. If If I don't think of something quick. I really am gonna s. With these soul-rendering thoughts, Naruto could, now, fully hear his own heartbeat, as though it were a countdown of when he'd cross over to the other side. S. Blackness. The raging bee fight between Sakura and Ino was starting to get lethal. Both females were now in the completely desolated living room, standing off and staring each other down, more bruised and beaten than ever. They were both on their last legs, now, the fatigue finally catching up to them. He loved you. He's the only one that I've ever seen, treat you with more respect than you deserve, and you spit in his face, Ino said with more bitter sadness than anger. Naruto isn't that special to me. When are you gonna get it through your head, Ino? That kiss didn't mean anything, damn it. He's just in the way of the affection of the person I'm really AF. Liar. Sakura flinched back. I don't believe you, in the slightest. Talk all you want, Sakura, but you may as well convince yourself of it first, Ino said through her cracking voice. You can fawn over Sasuke all you want, but don't you think that looking at someone who already treats you like a queen, sounds more plausible? Sakura's face cringed. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't you understand? I'm glad that I'm rid of him. Now he won't ever get in my way, again, she said through her own crackling voice, unable to hold back a steady stream of agonized tears. That was the last straw. Ino couldn't take it anymore. To see this type of self-engraved delusion from her friend was more than what she was willing to take. Seeing as how either of them were barely able to keep a proper fighting stance without trembling, Ino decided to lead the final charge. Enough was enough. With fury building in her heart, again, Ino reeled her fist back. However, before she even knew it, Sakura's fist had already driven itself deep into her stomach, stopping her in her tracks. The blonde genin simply stood there without breathing, but occasionally sucking a heave of air out of bodily reflex. Don't come to my house trying to talk me into something that I would never want, Ino, Sakura calmly demanded, with tears still cascading down her face. I don't want Naruto, and it's perfectly clear that he'll never forgive me. Hearing what was just said, Ino looked up and glared at Sakura with more furious and knowing determination, which actually made Sakura waver greatly. The blonde didn't even have to speak anymore, she knew that she had made her point, as she stared into Sakura's tear-drenched eyes. With raw power and will, Ino forcefully removed her pink-haired friend's hand and delivered a punch of grand potential to Sakura's stomach. That was definitely something new to Sakura, a feeling that she would not soon forget. She could feel the wrath, the scorn. It was far too much to possess, as she keeled over without making a single sound, her mouth gaping open and eye pupils fading into shadows of their former selves. After a few seconds of being lost to the void of agony, Sakura's face slowly cracked a frown, before she stared into Ino's eyes again, but they were filled with the same spiteful wrath that made the jade-eyed genin tremble. Why does it matter so much to you? Why do you care? Sakura howled, before reeling her fist back and delivering a vicious punch to center of Ino's face, which she made no attempt to block or dodge. Feeling Ino's intention to take the powerful punch, Sakura froze in place, staring at the blonde incredulously. Ino straightened herself back out and lowered her head, causing a thick trail of blood to run down her nose. After only a few moments, Ino grabbed Sakura's extended forearm, yanked it toward herself, and collided her fist with the side of the pink-haired genin's face with the same wrathful spite as before. Feeling as though she were about to faint, Sakura's eyes dimmed, as blood seeped from her mouth before she countered with another blow of her own. Things kinda went back and forth like that, with the two females exchanging blow after devastating and finishing blow, diminishing each other's strength and battering their boss like none other. After the slam fest was finished, they immediately latched onto one another's shirts, reeled their head back a ways, and lounged forward with all that they were worth and more, colliding their foreheads together. There, they remained, staring into each other's eyes, in paralysis, heat, sadness, but most of all, shame. With both of their eyes losing their fire and determination, trails of their own blood trickled down each of their foreheads, causing time to become painfully slow. Without fighting it any longer, they collapsed to floor on their sides, face to face. Silence engulfed the entire house, as the two kunoiki stare into each other's eyes, neither one of them as spiteful vengeful as before. After 3 whole minutes of silence, a fresh steam of tear that have been held back since she arrived, burst out of Ino's eyes, but she was silent, aside from the occasional sobs that caused her to tremble. We were both the same to him. He never did anything to hurt us and we treated him like dirt. I hate myself for not seeing this sooner, that he deserves every bit of respect that everyone else does, Ino sorrowfully cried. It was at those words. It was at that very moment, that everything had finally hit Sakura, hard. I really fed up, didn't I? Sakura asked with a ill-hearted smile and a very shaky voice, as she stared at her tearing friend. I really hurt him this time. I've never seen him cry before. Never. Without holding back any more, Sakura finally accepted that she may have torn away the most important people of her life, and cried. Like a river mourning and sorrow, tears gushed from Sakura's eyes, running down the side of her head. He's always there when I really need him. He always helped me. He's always tried to be nice to me, but I threw it all right back at his face. What have I done, Ino? She whimpered with a more trembling voice than ever. What have I done to him? Ino frowned, as she saw how much soul-shattering pain Sakura was in, now. Without her consent, Ino's tears became just as fierce and unrelenting as Sakura's. Stop it. Don't cry. Please. I hurt him, too. I was one of the evil kids who would torment and make fun of him for reasons that I can't even figure out to this day. I just did, Ino choked out, almost lamenting. Sakura's tears never faltered as she cracked the same ill-hearted, so that's why, you came here and hit me, to punish yourself and she asked rather knowingly, while simultaneously cursing herself for not seeing it sooner. Ino gave the exact same smile as her own tears never ceased. You know me too well. Don't you? She said, as she was relieved that Sakura had figured out her plan. After a few seconds, their smiles disappeared, leaving them to wallow in the despair and grief-stricken guilt. The silence didn't last too long, however. I don't know if I can do it, Sakura suddenly said. Ino, knowing exactly what her friend was talking about, struggled greatly to shift her hand upward, barely managing to place it upon her cheek. I know. I fear for the worst, too, but it has to be done, Ino consoled despite herself. Sakura solemnly nodded. They both knew what they had to do. Of course, it was around this time that a certain clicking could be heard from afar, sounding surprisingly familiar to Sakura. Then, in an instant, fear struck her down with the force of 1,000 bricks when she heard the door open, followed by a loud gasp. SSSAKURAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA fallen the destroyed calamity that was her house. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.